さっきからゴブリンが棒出しなわけだ。遠慮なく叩くぜ。
Berserk of Gluttony Episode 2 Recap. Let's start. Begins with the sister teaching kids about skills given by Lord Laplace. The kids find it very unfair that the Holy Knights possess highly valuable skills while some get weak skills. Just then, another sister arrives to inform her that Sahara hasn't been found anywhere around and heads towards the city. The scene switches to Sahara being tied up by the goon and crying. As the goon leaves, Fate undoes her shackles, only to notice the man has not left. The goon draws out his sword to fight, but Fate takes the little girl, runs in between the boxes, and hides. As the goon searches for them, Fate follows Greed's advice and pushes the boxes over him. He then slashes at the goon, cutting through his sword and chest. He then stabs him and questions him about who was behind this kidnapping. The goon reveals it is Hato Blaric. Fate takes the girl to get food. It is her first time eating meat, and she relishes the meal. Fate then takes her safely to the sisters. On the way back, Greed tells him about the new skill he has acquired. He realizes that Sharp Edge is incredibly strong and could have resulted in his death against the goon. Greed reminds him the next day is his first day at work at the House of Heart and that he should purchase new clothes. The scene switches to a scene at the bar where a man talks to the bartender about Lord Mason's demise and how Lady Roxy won't be able to prevent the tyranny of the Holy Knights. The next morning, Fate arrives at the House of Heart and is amazed to see Lady Roxy in a dress. She takes him to her father's grave to introduce him. Fate learns that her father has just passed away 5 days ago and is amazed by her compassion. She requests him to help her make the house a lively one again. Just then she goes to shake his hand, but he refrains as he doesn't want to be able to read her mind. A week passes and Fate is fairly acquainted with his colleagues and manages to fit in. They, however, wonder why he is hungry right after lunch break. Just then, Miss Haru arrives to call him to meet Milady. Lady Roxy calls him Faye, a nickname. He realizes it's the same nickname his dad gave him. She claims it is to lighten things in the house together, calling him family. Mid-conversation, Fate faints and only wakes up to find himself in his room with a note from Roxy asking him to take the next day off. He questions Greed about the changes in his body. Greed tells him that it is a change that comes with his skill and he will crave souls till the very end. If he doesn't kill, he will starve to death. Greed brings to Fate's notice that his eyes will turn red when he is at his limit. That night, Fate heads out to kill goblins and rid himself of starvation. He kills multiple goblins with his sword and heads to the hobgoblin nest to kill more fierce goblins. Just then, he hears the footsteps of a much larger goblin heading towards him. Greed tells him about the goblin's skill to heal wounds, saying it will pose a threat. Fate uses a sneak attack to slice off an arm of the goblin. The goblin begins to swing its arm around to attack Fate, but he is able to precisely attack and kill the giant. Fate earns the self-healing skill as well as stats. Greed tells him that he can use his stats to upgrade him, however, he would have to use all of them up. Fate agrees, as it is a partnership and both of them should level up together. Upgrading the sword allows him to use it as a bow, which doesn't require arrows. He is able to shoot arrows out of thin air and they follow the target to hit them. He practices his new abilities on the goblins around.